Okay. I'm starting my video. Hello. Oh, my hair's crazy. Hello. Okay. 7 o'clock. Here we go. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us. On behalf of the Greenwood Lake PTSA, I would like to welcome you to the School Board Candidate Forum. We are happy to be bringing this informative platform to you. There are 3 available seats for the school board and 5 candidates running. Voting will take place on Tuesday, May 18th from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Greenwood Lake Elementary School. I would like to thank Chad Sellier for being our moderator this evening. He will explain the format in just a few minutes to everyone. First, a little housekeeping. Questions have already been submitted. Therefore, we will not take any questions through the chat function of this Zoom meeting. Please do not comment or ask questions in the chat room. We will not be watching. We ask that you please turn your camera off and mute yourself. We would like to have our candidates the prime focus. If we or any candidate experiences a connection and/or internet issue, we will need to continue regardless of time remaining. And that's it. So without further ado, Chad, it's all yours. And good luck, candidates.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you for coordinating this, and thank you for inviting me back. It's an honor and a privilege to spend time with the candidates this evening. Just like to welcome everyone to the 2021 PTSA Greenwood Lake Union Free School District Board of Education Candidate Forum. As Rebecca mentioned, my name is Chad Sellier, and I'll be serving as the moderator for tonight's event. So before we proceed to the main event, we'll have an opportunity to listen intently to gain a better understanding of the positions of this year's candidates. There are a couple of additional sort of housekeeping matters to attend to. So Rebecca did give you the date for the vote on May 18th between 11 a.m. 9 p.m. in the gym. There's also, in addition to electing 3 board positions, there's also the budget vote on that date. There is a lot of budget info on the Board of Education website, right? So there's a number of presentations there that you have access to, and I recommend that you spend time reviewing. There's also, I'd like to make mention, the biographies of all the candidates has been posted on the Greenwood Lake PTSA Facebook page. At least that's where I found them. So that information is there. If you're not, it's a private group. So if you're not a member of that group, you should request access and spend time reading those biographies. I found them very informative myself. Let's talk about the format. So each candidate tonight will be allotted 2 minutes for their opening remarks, which will give them an opportunity to formally introduce themselves to the voters. We will then move into the questions and answers portion of the evening, where each candidate will be allotted 1 minute to answer the question. Each candidate's response to the questions will be rotated. The first candidate to answer the first question will be the last candidate to answer the second question, and so on. At the end, each candidate will then be given 1 minute for closing remarks to wrap up and cover any topics or that were not yet discussed. So our timekeeper, which I understand is Rebecca, right, will prompt, right, the candidates, right, via a sign, right, and there we go, yes, right, and there's 10 seconds remaining, right, then again at 5 seconds, and will alert you, right, when your time has elapsed. All right, so that's for the candidates, just keep that in mind. All right, so some additional instructions for our candidates. I'd like to remind you to honor the time allotments, especially this evening. We have a number of participants, right? As I'm sure you're aware, tonight's forum is not a debate. So I would ask that you refrain from interaction or debate amongst each other. All their interaction should be, through myself as the moderator. Finally, we ask that you refrain from grandstanding, speaking off topic, or using off-color remarks this evening. All right, tonight is truly about expressing your views openly so members of the community can understand your position on the issues that are important to them and make an informed voting choice. For my Zoom audience, which should remain on mute, right, cameras off, right? So as Rebecca has already mentioned, that at this point do not have the ability to ask any additional questions. We've gathered all of your questions, right? And we've consolidated a number of questions that were similar, right? There was some statements in those questions. We extracted the question part, right, of your submission. And we've really tried to, with the questions, represent, right, everything that was submitted by everyone. Your exact question might not be answered, but a similar question, right, will be covered, right, to the best of our ability this evening. Right, and then we just sincerely ask that you practice proper decorum, keeping your camera off, staying out of the chat room, right, and keeping yourselves on mute. Right, it's critical that each candidate be allowed unfettered opportunity to respond to questions, enabling each of you an opportunity to make an informed decision about which of these board member candidates will represent you for the next 3 years. Some food for thought to really frame this evening. School board members make up the largest body of elected officials in the United States. We entrust them to set the policies of our most treasured institutions, our public elementary, middle, and high schools. School boards establish a vision for the community schools. They are entrusted to set up and maintain an effective, efficient organizational structure for the district that lets the superintendent and administrators manage the schools, allows teachers to teach, and enables students to learn. A school board has a heavy influence on the spirit that characterizes a community's impressions of its school system. Just some food for thought. Now, on to the main event. So we'll begin with opening remarks, and we'll start with Michael, right? Michael, you are on the air.
Well, thank you very much, Chad. And I'd like to thank everyone for attending. Thank you for putting this together. Just want to introduce myself. I'm Michael Emsworth. I've lived here for 8.5 years. My wife is a lifelong Laker. I'm originally from Monroe, but when we got married, we decided this is where we wanted to be to raise our family. We have a young son. Our son receives early intervention services through the district. It's been a fantastic experience, and he's doing quite well. And I credit the special education department here at Greenwood Lake. And that's just a little background about myself. I have an associate's degree from Orange County Community, bachelor's degree from St. John's University, master's degree in education from Mount St. Mary College. I've been in the classroom teaching across all kinds of different levels, grade levels, substituting, tutoring. I worked at an after-school program while I was in college. I did some long-term substitution times, and I started working with the people with developmental disabilities about 10 years ago, and I've been doing that since. It's offered me a very unique perspective, and I think that's what I offer the community. I've seen a lot of different viewpoints of education. I see it from the teacher perspective, from a parent perspective now, but also a special education perspective, and how it affects people who age out and move into the next level of their lives. So it's a unique perspective, and I want to bring that to the board. I really want to get involved with the community. I love this community, and I really want to start moving forward and being involved in the community. I want to make sure that the students get every opportunity that they deserve, and that's why I'm running for this seat. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Now we'll hear from Patty. Patty, you're on the air.
All right, good evening, everybody. It's great to be here. It's an honor and a privilege. My name is Patty Kaminsky. I am running for the Greenwood Lake Union Free School District Board of Education. I'm happy to be here tonight. Thank you to the PTSA for hosting this event. A little bit about me. I have been a resident of Greenwood Lake for about 23 years. I currently am living here with my husband, my 3 children, 2 of which attend the Greenwood Lake Middle School. and one of which who just graduated last year, and he now attends Warwick High School. I also, just like Michael, I'm an educator, so I bring definitely an entirely different set of a unique perspective to the table. I'm an 18-year veteran of public education. I'm currently working in the Patterson Public School District in Jersey, which is one of the largest school districts. And going into September will be my 19th year there. So I see it from all avenues. I think that being on the board is such a privilege, and it's such a responsibility and such a big job that I myself can wear many hats. I can wear the mother hat, where I understand and I have children in the school system, and I can understand it as a mother. I can understand it as an educator. I'm very focused on educating the whole child. I believe that, yes, academics are the main priority, but outside academics, extracurricular activities, the arts, music, clubs are such an important part of teaching to the whole child and creating lifelong learners, which, I mean, is the whole point of educating your child, to create a lifelong learner. I love this community. I love this town, and I would be honored to represent Greenwood Lake. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Yukwan, your opening remarks. Thank you. You're on the air. Yukwan, I don't think we're hearing you. Oh, there we go.
How's that?
That's better.
I'll try it this way then.
Yeah.
I use headphones because I hear better with headphones.
Rebecca, we can start a time and you can start from the top. Yep.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chad. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My name is Yukwan Lee. I'm seeking re-election. I'm running for re-election to the Board of Education for Greenwood Lake. I have served so far. I won the special election 2 years ago for the late John Finn seat. And I was very, worried, sort of, if I could actually do the job that Mr. Finn did so well for 30 plus years. I believe 30 plus years. But what I came to find out is that it is multidimensional. While serving, I learned that it is not just about saying yes or nay to a vote. It is more. It's more about taking care of the community and the children. And I came to, and coming into this, I knew that it was all about the children. But once you serve, you truly know that yes, it is. It is about the children, and you will do everything possible to give every child every chance for them to succeed. And a little bit about me, I moved to Greenwood Lake approximately 15 years ago. I have 2 children. I have one son in 8th grade and one daughter in 5th grade. And, from the day we moved to this community, I truly felt that, this was the place for me. I don't know about my wife in the beginning, but for me, it felt truly the town for us. And I'm proud to serve the Greenwood Lake community. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, Yukwan. TJ, your opening remarks, you're on the air.
Hello, everybody. My name is Thomas TJ O'Brien. My wife and I have 2 kids, a 10-year-old who is in 5th grade and is soon to be 4-year-old. I've been serving the community for the past 4.5 years on the board. It's been a rough year for all of us. We have spent many hours in meetings, collaborating with the community and staff, who might add have done absolutely amazing this year. To have our district successfully open, not just on time, but 5 days a week, which we were one of the only ones in the entire county to be able to do so. This was no easy task to accomplish. There are many things we would have liked to have done differently, but the state and county health departments unfortunately have the final say. When written guidance is given, we have no option but to follow them or face being shut down for not complying. It's kind of we're going to comply so we can open our doors, educate our kids, but we're going to fight for changes. While serving on the board, one thing that I've zoned in on has been the security and safety of the children and staff. When terrible things happen in the world like Sandy Hook, we must never forget and make sure safety is our #1 concern. I continuously work with the admin staff and surrounding departments, our first responders to run drills and work on our infrastructure and safety. It's something we hope we never have to use, but we still work on it and build to work out the kinks. Another area I've zoned in on is the stability of the district, keeping our spending in check, learning our accounts, which might add takes years to really understand since school finance comes with a whole other set of rules, and working collaboratively to keep our tax increases to a minimum. Any decision that is made financially, you don't normally see the repercussions for about 5 years. So anything that is done, you have to plan for how it's going to affect us in the future. I truly love our community and the children and look forward to the opportunity to hopefully continuing to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, TJ. John, your opening remarks. You're on the air.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Thurber. First, I'd like to thank Rebecca and the PTSA for putting this together for us, and also Chad, yourself, for being the moderator. I appreciate that and everything that you do for the community. My wife and I, Elisa, we've been members of the community for the past 21 years. We have 3 daughters. Our oldest, Sienna, who's currently a freshman at Warwick, went through the entire school system of Greenwood Lake. We also have Layla, who is currently in 6th grade, and our youngest, Ashton, currently is in 4th grade, and both of them obviously are at the Greenwood Lake Middle School. So, you know, I have been thoroughly involved with the community, obviously not with the school yet. That's why I'm running for school board with the, you know, the situation that all of us have gone through in the last, 14 months. It's been a trying time for all of us, but, I think there's some changes that could be made within the school system that would just make everything better for the community as a whole. When I said I was involved in the community, I'm currently a member of the Greenwood Lake Soccer Board. I've been on the Greenwood Lake Soccer Board for 4 years. I've been actively involved with the Greenwood Lake Soccer Club for the past 10 years as a coach, and I'm currently the head coach of Ashton's team, the Greenwood Lake Dynamite. I have also been involved with the Greenwood Lake Little League, and I'm currently involved with the Greenwood Lake Softball League. So, we've met many great people through this small knit community. And, we've seen the community grow over the last 20 years that we've been here. And I just appreciate everybody in the community. And I hope I get your support in the next vote on May 18th. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, John. Thank you to all the candidates for your opening remarks. We'll now move into the Q&A session. And just so you have an idea of what's in store, all the questions that came in, we were able to compile them into sort of 12 questions, really. Some of those questions have multiple parts. If a question has multiple parts, I will state that up front, right? So you can prepare to receive that information, right? If you need a question repeated, I will repeat the question, one additional time. Right? As we mentioned, the first question will start in the same order that we did the opening remarks, right? So for this first question, we'll begin with Michael and with John, and then we'll rotate. The second question will begin with Patty and with Michael, and so on. Okay, so we'll begin with the first question. It's just a single, it's one part question. And we'll begin with, as I said, with Michael. So there's the question to all candidates. What is your primary goal if you are elected to the school board, right, for the upcoming 3-year term? We'll start with Michael. You have 1 minute to answer. Everyone will have 1 minute. You're on mute.
There we go. Okay. My goal is, first and foremost, is we want to get back to a normal school year. And I know TJ's right. This district was open. They did, money war or not. This was in person, which was great. That's what we need to be moving towards. We need to move. That's the goal, is to get back to normal as quickly as possible. We want to make sure also that the children who missed almost a year and a half with very weird circumstances, unprecedented circumstances, are not going to fall behind. And how do we do that? Well, we have to make sure that we're watching them, that we're evaluating the students, the progress, make sure that they're getting any help that they need, making sure that they're getting up to speed, and the teachers are keeping pace with what needs to be done. We got to make sure that we're give them the required supports, because the most important thing is that the children keep pace and move forward.
Thank you, Michael. Patty, the question over to you. Primary goal, if you're elected to the school board for the upcoming 3-year term.
Sure. I would say my primary goal is to transition the students from learning in an environment, online learning environment, to an in-person learning environment as the pandemic is ending, slowing down, and we are going back to life post-pandemic, to what we know is now the new normal after what everyone has been through. To give every child the education that they deserve, no matter where their background is, where they're coming from, if they're new to the district, if they've been here their whole life, and to make sure that every child is learning to the best of their capability and ability and given all the tools that they deserve and need.
Great. Thank you, Patty. Yukwan, over to you. Your primary goal if elected to the school board. Re-elected.
Yes. So my primary goal, I think, is the same as what I've been working. What we've all been working is to keep schools open. That is truly important for everyone, I believe. You know, a lot of work goes behind closed doors to keep the schools open. It's not just a matter of the superintendent saying we'll open next week. It looks good. The numbers look good. Let's just open next week. It's a lot of work, and we have been constantly working so we keep our schools open. It is a weekly numbers game, but I would say that is my goal.
Sorry, can everyone please mute? We're getting some background, some feedback. Thank you. Sorry. TJ, over to you. So your primary goal, re-elected to the board.
My primary goal, I mean, just to give a little bit of insight, since February 1st of this year, guidance has changed 38 times from the state. Every time the guidance changes, we need to change with it and figure out how we're going to make it work. My goal is to bridge the gap of all the educational time that was lost. This is and has already been in motion. From the original shutdown back in March, we said, all right, let's get ahead of the game and start a game plan of how we're going to tackle this when the time comes that we are back in school. We've been working on plans, figuring out where kids are at right now, and just really trying to get in a plan drawn out of how are we going to fix this, because this is something that's going on around the country, not just here. But we want to make sure that our kids are successful in the long term. Thank you.
Thank you, TJ. John, the question over to you. Primary goal if elected.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I mean, it's, you know, it's the same goal that we all have. It's to get the children back to, you know, pre-pandemic normalcy with their school day, you know, to get them back interacting with their friends and their teachers in person, and so they can join sports after school and extracurricular activities, whether it's band or art clubs or intramurals after school. So they're not stuck at home on when they have to school from home, and they can interact with each other. And I mean, the school did a great job, and I'm so happy that our kids were able to go back. I mean, if you look at other school districts and all the difficulties that the children you hear about that they faced not being able to go back, and obviously we want to make sure that if everything continues to lift and we're able to get the kids back full time. That's our primary goal, I believe, for next school year. So thank you.
Great, thank you. So we'll move on to the second question. It is a two-part question. And for each of the parts, there are 3 items that were asked. All right, so I'll read the question probably twice just so you understand it. And it will require you to, because you have a minute to really sort of condense your response. Second question. What is your opinion on what the current board is doing for the schools in our district, kids specifically, and or use of taxes? It's part 1. The second part, what would you do differently, or what changes would you like to see with one or all of the 3 sort of areas mentioned? So we'll start with Patty this round.
Okay, for the first part, so what's my opinion on the current school board and how they're doing? I think the current school board is doing a good job, and I think that financially, I mean, I'm not privy to like financial reports such as the board is, but I would say that the money is spent well in our district. Our children do receive services, after school services, even currently right now. I know there's a tutoring program going on. I know there's a summer program going on. And I think all those are wonderful ways that, the budget is divvied up. What changes I would like to see moving forward? I think the biggest change, I think, is bringing, let me just get my thoughts really quick. The biggest change I would like to see moving forward is getting the children back into school full time, helping the children.
Time is up, Patty. I'm sorry, time is up. Everyone have an opportunity at the end. Are you able to see Rebecca with the time? I just want to make sure everyone can see Rebecca with.
I didn't just then, but that's okay. I didn't just then, but I did see her before.
Yeah, just make sure all the candidates can see that. We have to, some of the ground rules here, and you'll have an opportunity at the end to sort of, kind of readdress or revisit points that you weren't able to make during the time.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so we'll move on to Yukwan, the same question. Over to you.
So I think the board as a whole, I believe we work well as a whole. Of course, there's certain things that we need to do better always. And, I strive to address that whenever I can. But overall, not to worry the community, I think we are a functioning board. And we have seen other boards not be able to do half of the things that we do. As far as what changes I'd like to see in the future, I would like our lawmakers, showing some respect to the children and to the educators. That's what I would like to see. They make things so hard that sometimes it's almost like we're fighting ourselves. Thank you.
Time's up. Thank you, Yukwan. TJ, over to you. Same question.
I think we've definitely made it through the jumps and hurdles of the written guidance. we have, what you guys see in our board meetings is really just the tip of the iceberg. We have spent countless hours in this past year trying to work around the constant changes, and we'll write up a game plan, and then 3 days later the state comes out with a new guidance, and now we got to start all over again. So the fact that we've been able to accomplish what we have has been a huge accomplishment. What would I do differently? I mean, I really think that we're doing all that we possibly can, since we are dictated by not just state guidance, but the local guidance of the Orange County Health Department, which has been one of the strictest health departments in this state with everything. The second that they start opening up, or they start to loosen guidance, we jump right on it, and we get right back to some type of normalcy, and adding whatever it is that they've loosened up back into our programming. And let's hope that we can continue to do that.
Thank you. John, same question, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, the current board, with the situation that they've been dealt with the last year, I mean, they've done a good job. I mean, but there's always areas for improvement, whether it's a school board or, a company board of directors. You always need to strive to improve. As far as what they're doing for the kids, I mean, I think, with everything that's happened the last year, when they allow kids to take online classes from home, and then go back in, and obviously opening on delayed days on Mondays, they're doing a great job. As far as the taxes, I mean, I always think that there's areas where we can look to keep taxes lower for everybody, and continue to improve the activities that we have for the school. The changes, I'd like to try and get the community more involved, obviously keep taxes low, and keep the support where it is for the kids.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Michael, over to you. Same question.
Thank you. I think the board handled an unprecedented situation very well. I mean, there's no playbook for this, and honestly, the fact that this district stayed in person needs to be commended. That being said, there's always, like John said, there's room for improvement. There always is. You always got to look to make improvements, and you got to self-evaluate that. I think some new, fresh voices will help that, and that's what I'm hoping to bring, a fresh perspective. Some more fresh perspective, I think, is going to help. We want to get the students, as far as we want to optimize education while keeping the spending down as much as possible. And there's ways to do it. You just have to efficiently do it, and you have to examine how the money's spent. And that's how that's what I want to bring. I want to kind of look at that, and like, we're not privy to it right now, to how this money's spent, but there's always ways to improve. And that's really what I'd like to do if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to question number 3. What specifically would you like to see updated or changed in the buildings or grounds, right, of our school district in the upcoming year or years? And we'll start with Yukwan.
So specifically, I'm in the facilities committee, so we're constantly working on this. And what we're doing right now is the main lobby of the middle school. If anybody saw the main lobby, if you look at the main lobby from the front door in, you can see the disparity, all the things that are going on. Somebody could say that's not a big deal, that that doesn't affect education. The thing we want to update the main lobbies, because it just shows, when you come into the school, it shows a very unified building. As you know, the middle school, it's 2 buildings in the form of a Y. So it's not a regular building, that we know of, square, rectangle. It's 2 buildings separated. Thank you. Yes, Rebecca, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Yukwan. TJ, over to you. Same question.
I would like to finally get our elementary school cafeteria completed. We've been waiting on approval from the state, kind of like anytime you have anything done in your house, you need to go through the building department. You have to go through state ed here to have anything completed. It's been prolonged and it's been being pushed off, and then they jumped on the excuse of it being COVID, which we're like, we were asking to get this done like years prior. We're finally making headway on that now. Other things I'd like to do is have some more collab areas for the kids to be able to join together and continue that sense of community that we have outside of school. I mean, we have a great sense of community in the school, but it would be nice to have a area for them all to gather around and after COVID and everything, and just continue to make those friendships and relationships with each other.
Thank you. John, over to you. Same question.
Okay, I mean, there's two aspects you have to look at here. I mean, are people, is the question referring to the utilities or the aesthetics of just how the school looks? I mean, obviously, you want to make sure the schools are running properly for the children when they're there. So the first thing you would want to look at is each school need a new boiler? Is everything up to date? Are the water fountains up to date so that they're not constantly breaking and kids have access to water? Does the air conditioning running properly? So, I mean, those would be the first things to look at to make sure that the school can stay operational when the kids hopefully are back in school full time. Obviously, the second thing you would look at is, how does the school look? I mean, both of the schools were built many, many years ago. So, it might be just as simple as, going in and lightening up some of the rooms so they're not so dark, or the hallways when you're, when the children are walking from class to class. And some of the auditoriums need to be updated, and I think that would help the kids out when they're walking back and forth. And
thanks, John. You're at time. Thank
okay,
you.
I don't see Rebecca anymore, so I apologize.
We may have to. So Rebecca, what we may do is I can see her, so I can, if it's okay with the candidates, I just didn't want to interrupt you. I can call out 10, 5, and time. If you're okay,
I can just move over so I can see Rebecca next.
Yeah, I prefer everyone to see Rebecca because I don't want to interrupt people, when you're talking. So if we were in the auditorium, you'd be able to see the timer sitting in front of you. So I'm trying to sort of mimic that experience. So if everyone can make sure they can see Rebecca, she's clearly posting 10, 5, time up, right? That will be the preferred sort of method, if you will, a way to handle, right, the timekeeping. So Michael, we'll go over to you. Same question.
Okay. Well, first of all, you want to make sure that the functionality of the buildings are there. You want to make sure everything's working properly, everything's working safely. This, obviously, the children and the teachers need an environment that's conducive to learning. If you spruce it up a little bit, make the rooms brighter, make it more pleasing. If everything looks nicer and feels nicer, I think the kids are gonna perform better. You also want to maintain playing fields. You want to maintain art rooms and computer rooms, band rooms, chorus rooms, anything that's some extracurricular activities that's going to be encouraged. You want to make that pleasant too. We want to make sure that when kids step into school, they feel a sense of pride. If you're prideful about where you go, you're gonna perform better, and it's gonna show. So I think it's important to make sure that the buildings are up to date and safe, most importantly. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Patty, over to you. Same question.
Sure. Yeah, of course. After looking into everything and making sure, all of the ventilation systems are up to par, and the air conditioner and the heating system is running correctly. I think that's first and foremost. But I think again, the main lobby being redone is going to bring such a great wow factor to the school, to the middle school, especially when you're walking into the building. I also think that there should be more student murals throughout both schools. I know at the middle school, they did have an excellent mural club, I think a year or two ago before the pandemic. Those murals showed such such a presence in the school, and I really think that we could do more to that, add more student artwork to both schools. The cafeteria in the elementary school, I can't wait for that to happen. That's something that's been needed to be done for such a long time, so I'm happy that will be happening. The students deserve a better place to eat in the elementary school. Definitely, it's more conducive to happiness.
That's time. That's time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, I can't see Rebecca. Can I do something else to see her? Oh, okay, I see. I could just move over.
Yes.
Chad, excuse me, somebody just texted me and said, pin my box. I'm not sure how to.
Yeah, you can pin. I mean, I can pin you, but then you
try to
get
do
on
that.
the screen. I don't, well, at least from my view. I think individually, if the candidates can pin you.
Okay.
I don't have the controls. If I pin you, that's just on my screen.
Right. But if each candidate did it so they could see.
They can pin you, yes, and then and just make sure you go to gallery view. Right. It'll just keep Rebecca in kind of that first position, that pole position, if you will. Okay. All right. So we'll move on to question number 4. It's a 2-part question. I'll read both parts, and then we'll move to responses. How do you feel the district has handled the reopening of schools, and how have they handled the months that followed? What would you have liked to see done differently? All right, we'll begin with TJ.
When it comes to the reopening of our district, as I said, we were one of the only ones in the county to open on time, full days, 5 days a week, with the exception of Mondays. We have done absolutely everything possible that the county has allowed us to do. I'm not even going to worry about this state, because the state comes and then the county you either have to follow minimum what the state says, or the county can put rules in effect that are even more strict, and we have to follow that. We have worked extremely hard to try to meet those so that we can keep our doors open. We can get our children educated as much as possible. What would I like to see done? I want to get our kids back in schools. I want to be back to some type of normalcy. I don't want these kids to think that COVID is going to be the rest of their lives, and just have a strong foundation for them to build upon.
Thank you. John, same question, over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I obviously, I have 2 kids that attend the Greenwood Lake Middle School, and I think, the district did a wonderful job opening up to those children that wanted to attend in person, and not only the kids that attended in person, but they also allowed kids to take classes from home online if they were immune compromised. So I mean, I think they did a great job with that as well, because I mean, there was a lot of parents that were worried if they sent their kids to school if they were going to get COVID. So allowing those children to be able to take online classes, and allowing the children that wanted to be in person, I mean, they did a phenomenal job. The district did a great job. Since we opened, and the way that they've handled the COVID cases in school, and notifying the parents was great as well. What they could have done differently was maybe tried to add some extracurricular activities earlier.
That's time. Michael, over to you. Same question.
I think the district did a very good job of handling this. This is, like I said, there's no playbook for this. This came up, and they dealt with it, and they dealt with it in a way that would enable kids to stay in school and to be able to be around each other and be in person learning. Being in person learning is huge. Kids need to be around each other. They need to be around their teachers in order to learn. So So I think they really did a good job, and they really should be commended for that. What they can do better, I think they should have offered maybe a little more in way of extracurricular activities for those who are willing to participate. And again, guidelines do tie them down. And it's not, you can't work around the guidelines, unfortunately. But that's something that I'd like to see moving forward. And we can get through this, and in September, we can kind of go back to a little more normalcy as the way we knew it pre-COVID. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Patty, over to you. Same question.
Yes, I feel like the school district did an excellent job this year. I mean, what they were up against was an astronomical feat that they really, I feel like they knocked out of the park. Keeping our kids in school and giving them the choice, remote or in-person learning for the whole year. I don't really think any of us can really complain about that. Overall, the teachers, the administrators, the staff, I really do feel like did an excellent job. And I feel like any time where there was, problems come into play, it was because of protocols and laws that the state was enforcing and nothing to do with the district itself. I also feel one thing that could have been a little bit better was definitely adding more extracurricular activities sooner rather than later. For so many kids, that's such an important part of school. Having 3 kids, in school, 2 in the middle school, that having that add a little bit quicker would have really helped.
That's time, Patty. Thank you. Yukwan, over to you. Same question.
Yeah, so we have amazing people working in those 2 buildings, and they really worked their butts off to get this up and running, and that is why I support them wholeheartedly. There's nothing more you can say about that. They truly, that was blood, sweat, and tears. Opening the schools. What I would like to see, what I would like to have seen done better. I really can't think of I mean, there's a lot that could have done better, but this time with all the regulations, with all the Orange County health regulations coming through, it's almost like you try to do something but you can't, because of the regulations. So I really don't have the answer to that.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next question. What is your position for the next school year with keeping mask wearing mandatory in schools with kids sitting at their desks 6 feet apart, considering the current CDC guidelines and increasing vaccination numbers? And we'll begin with John.
Okay, I mean, obviously, that's not really a question that I'm able to answer. I'm not a doctor or a nurse for that matter. So, I mean, what we'll have to do is follow the recommendations of the CDC and Orange County Health. And if they, when school opens back up in September and they say that students don't have to wear a mask, then, students don't have to wear a mask. I mean, that's not up to the school board to make that decision. I mean, that has to come from the Orange County Department of Health. And, through their recommendations, then we can make a decision in September of how the classrooms are going to be set up, whether, they're still smaller classroom sizes, or we can get back to having more students in the classroom without wearing masks. And, but like I said, that's not a decision that the school board can make. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, over to you. Same question.
I don't think there's a person around that isn't excited for the day when we can throw these masks away for the rest of our lives. But until that day comes, we're bound by mandates from the state and guidelines from the health department. what we have to do is follow them, and we have to make sure what we're doing is best for the students and for the teachers, and for the staff and administration. So we have to follow all the guidelines, and we have to ensure that while the kids are in the classroom, we're following the guidelines so we don't get any kind of blowback from the health department, because the last thing we want is any kind of issues there. We want to make sure that everything is aboard and everything is followed to the letter, letter of the law. There will be a day when we don't have to worry about that, but until then, we have to follow, and we got to make sure that we are doing what's right for our district in that regard. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Patty, over to you. Same question.
Thank you. Yes, I feel the exact same way. I too cannot wait for the day that the masks are a thing of the past, and they're no longer a day-to-day part of our day-to-day. But unfortunately, it's not a question that the board, has the answer to. We do have to follow state regulations, state guidelines. If it's a choice, whether the school district, can enforce it, then that's different. But we, and then if a school district would keep students wearing masks when it's no longer state regulated, then that becomes a different question, right, with a different answer. But as of right now, it's just not, unfortunately, something that the board can control. It's controlled by the state, and we have to abide by the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Yukwan, over to you. Same question.
So what we found out about the Orange County Health Department is that, you could do whatever right, and you still be wrong. That's that. And as far as masks go, my stance on masks is the same as when I first began. When we first began, as long as there's no mask mandate, there's no masks. That is my stance. You follow you follow the guidelines of being inside. As long as there's no mandate for masks, no masks. That is my stance.
Thank you. TJ, over to you. Same question.
I think we're here to represent everybody, not just ourselves. So if it's not mandated by the health department, then we wouldn't mandate it inside of the schools. I'm also one of 7, so I can't tell you this is what we'll do. But there is a possibility. I mean, kids will always be allowed to wear a mask if they choose that they would like to wear a mask. We would never tell them no. But there is a possibility that we can try to roster kids that are deciding that they would like to continue being masked and try to have them as a classroom, try to put those kids together just so that they don't feel out of place. There's other kids around them that are wearing the mask. That's more of a district decision, like a day-to-day, not so much a board decision when it comes to the rostering, but I don't see our staff and superintendent ever wanting to make kids feel uncomfortable. We would do all we possibly could. So I don't think we would be wearing them, no, but they can if they would like to.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next question. It's a 2-part question, so I'll read both parts. What is your position with regards to mandatory vaccines to school-aged children? With COVID vaccine being an ongoing clinical trial and the FDA approving the vaccine for emergency use authorization, do you believe our schools have the right to mandate the vaccine for in-person classes? It's a 2-part question. We'll begin with Michael.
At this time, I don't see the need for children to be required to be vaccinated to return to school. Even at the height of COVID, it didn't seem to be affecting children the way it affected other people. Thank God it didn't affect children that way. Right now, I understand where people will have some concerns because this is a new vaccination, and subjecting their children to it, I understand where they might be hesitant to do that. So I don't think it's necessary that we should require vaccination for children. I don't think that should be part of any kind of requirement to come back to school in any way. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty, over to you. Same question.
Sure. I think it is a family choice. It's a personal choice at this point. The vaccine is very new and we're not quite sure. We don't have all the facts about it. So I don't feel at this point that it needs to be mandated to return to in-person school. Like I said, it's a personal choice at this point, a family choice. And that's where I would leave it, in the choice of the families. Thank you.
Thank you. Yukwan, over to you. Same question.
Yeah, same thing as Patty. I don't believe schools should have a say in, if the children needs to be vaccinated for them to come back to school for the COVID-19. It's definitely a family choice. That's what we're doing right now. Different members of my family there. Some are taking the vaccine, some aren't. It's just a family choice.
Thank you. TJ, over to you. Same question.
My personal opinion is I'm not for the vaccine for kids. There are still so many unknowns with it. We've kind of spoken about this, and we would never require it unless, of course, it was state mandated. We wouldn't have a choice. Do I believe we have the right to mandate it? No. The same way I posed a question to the board with reopening, that we need to have distance learning as an option, because we should never decide what happens to somebody's child in regards to these current times. We are simply a board of ed. We are not dictators. We are not rulers. We do not decide who gets something that is so unknown at this point. We don't decide current vaccines. The state decides that. So I don't see why we would ever decide now that we have the right or the power to decide that kids are vaccinated or not in order to attend school. We're here to educate, not determine medical stance.
Thank you. John, over to you. Same question.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the question is asking what my personal opinion is of whether or not, the vaccine should be mandatory. I mean, that's a family decision that needs to be made by the individual person. I mean, it's not up to me to tell somebody that they have to get their child vaccinated. If the family wants to get their child vaccinated, I'm all for it. If they don't want to get their child vaccinated, I'm all for that as well. I mean, that's not, up to me for, me to make that decision for what other people do with, how they have their children treated at the doctor's office of whether or not they are going to get a vaccine. And the second part, I mean, it's a state decision of whether or not a vaccine is required. So, I would be against, any type of school mandate stating that a child needs to be vaccinated prior to coming back to school if it's not coming down from the state. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next question. What is your opinion on high-risk sports such as basketball being played in our district? And even though this wasn't mentioned in the question, I'm going to make an educated guess. They're talking about the current environment, right? So in the current environment, what is your opinion on high-risk sports such as basketball being played in our district? The second part, should there be a cap on the number of spectators for outdoor school events? We'll begin with Patty.
My opinion on high-risk sports being played, I think they should be played. I do. I think I know that this year was a tough year, and I know the school right now is currently, they had a fall season and they had a spring season. I really would have liked to have that winter season. I feel like it was a shame that we didn't have it. So moving forward with high-risk sports, I think that it's something we should definitely do. I mean, if you're thinking about the social emotional learning needs of certain students, that definitely comes into play. being able to play sports. And if your child is a volleyball player or a basketball player, missing that season is crucial to their social emotional learning. Second part of the question, should there be a cap on outdoor? If you're asking for my personal opinion, I think if you're outside, outdoors, I understand why there is a cap because I think it comes down from the state. So again, we have to play by the rules of what the state is saying. Whatever.
That's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yukwan, excuse me, over to you. Same question.
Yes, I agree with what Patty said. Sports should be played. Kids had a great time playing soccer. The season just ended. You should have seen their smiles. It was great watching the parents also watching the games. That was awesome. And should we have a limit on outdoor activities for spectators? No, there should be no limit. Before this happened, we never had hundreds of people watching the soccer game. That never happened. So this whole limiting for two members of the family only, maybe that was a family that their grandparents wanted to come and watch the grandson play. So I'm not for that.
Thank you. TJ, over to you. Same question.
This year's decision on indoor was based on the ability to continue in-person instruction if the entire team and who they were in contact with needed to be quarantined based on the Department of Health's regulations. So the decision on indoor sports was made putting education first, since the town teams were available and wouldn't risk us having to possibly do a whole school shutdown because of exposure and contact tracing. Our issue is staffing, being able to have enough substitutes come in for the amount of teachers that would have needed to be quarantined. So that's why our decision was based on indoor sports and the transmission rate and all that different things. That's why education was put first for that one. And the cap on the number of spectators, we don't have the option on that. That is a county level. So we have it at the max of 2 people per student.
Thank you. John, over to you. Same question.
I mean, I'm not sure why it's just targeting basketball. I mean, I think any high risk sport, if the school was able to proceed with it, I think it should have been allowed. There's that the kids could have worn masks when they're playing. I know school districts that did that, and they prevented the spread of COVID. So I don't know if that was just a question of because we didn't have basketball, or if it's related to all high risk sports. As far as allowing more than 2 spectators, I think that's a silly rule. I mean, there's plenty of space if everybody, you go to other indoor venues where you're allowed, multiple people, as long as you have a mask on and you're, staying 6 feet apart, shouldn't matter how many people are allowed to attend. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, over to you. Same question.
I know there were high-risk sports being played outside of schools, and they were able to pull it off. So I don't see why schools weren't able to do that. As long as you're following masks, I mean, you could wear a mask and play basketball. You could wear a mask and play volleyball. I think they could have done it. They could have figured it out. Like I said, because it was going on outside school anyway. So it's possible, and you could have done it. Again, a lot of these guidelines are contradictory and they make no sense. But I understand the school kind of has their hands bound by this, which I understand. So it's not an easy thing to do. As far as, but I would be all in favor for, and moving forward, I hope that we can move forward for the season next year. As far as the rule about outside spectators, I think it's silly. Just like John said, there's no reason why people can't. There's plenty of room to space out, and I really think it's a silly rule. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next question. A 2-part question. How do you envision the upcoming school year operating? How will you help interpret and apply CDC regulations? And we'll begin with Yukwan.
Well, I truly see us getting almost back to normal by next year. CDC already, not the CDC, New York State, they're already thinking about restaurants being at 70%, 75% capacity. They're opening up indoor venues. CDC is saying no more masks outside. There's no need for the masks. So with all that in mind, I just believe next September will be almost normal. You know, I can't predict, but it looks that way. And the way I would follow CDC guidelines is you would have to follow the mandates, or else we'll get penalized. You know, that's basically that's the gist of it.
Right, time. Thank you. TJ, over to you. Same question.
How I envision our upcoming school year. That's kind of done by whatever the mandates are by the county. It's then reviewed by our attorney, by our school doctors, and they collab with admin, with staff, the community, the board, kind of the same way that we did this year, to try to get everybody's opinion, to try to make a very round, sound decision. The issue is the rules change at 2:30. It's a saying that we've had on the board for the past year. In regards to the Orange County Health Department, the schools have a set of guidance that they need to follow, and then the community has a different set of guidance that they need to follow. So it's kind of like, okay, during the times of, 7:50 and 2:30 during the day, these are what the rules are. But the second that the kids exit the building, there's a whole other set of rules that they need to follow. So that's what makes it very hard. And some people don't know or don't understand when it comes to the guidance, but we do try everything possible.
Thank you. John, over to you. Same question.
Yeah, I mean, I hope I envision that we're back to normal. I mean, with the way that the states are lifting restrictions and, how we see everything happening with COVID and the numbers are trending on a downward, trend here. I really hope that when school reopens, well, not reopens, but opens up again in September, that we have different regulations and guidelines of how the kids are currently attending school. But obviously that's not something that we can take lightly, and we need to follow the CDC guidelines. I don't feel that the school should be operating differently than, how you operate your daily life. If you're following the guidelines from what either the CDC or Orange County hands down, I think that's what the school system should follow. And, I don't see there any different on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael, over to you. Same question.
Well, the good news is that infection rates are dropping, vaccination rates are going up, and every week restrictions are getting lifted. So we're moving in a positive direction. So I have high hopes that by the time school's opening in September, there's going to be all sorts of opening up for the school. With that being said, obviously the school is going to have to follow any kind of guidance that's coming from the health department. So what we have to do is be able to support the administration, the teachers, the students, and we have to stay in communication with the community and let them know constantly what's going on, what's changing, what to be expected. And when things change, we got to do it again and make sure that we're keeping in constant communication. I'm envisioning a year that is going to be a lot more what we perceive to be normal next year. And let's hope that the only mask we see next year are Halloween masks. That's really what we're hoping for.
Thank you. Patty, over to you. Same question.
Sure. Definitely, I myself also envision the upcoming school year being back to normal, with limited, if any, restrictions based on what the state is recommending and enforcing. You know, with 50% of New Yorkers currently vaccinated, I think that's going to change things a little bit. It will. And I really as much normalcy coming back and as much of a normal school year for these kids that who have lost out on so much. I cannot stress that enough, how much these kids have really lost out, that we can go back to as close to normal as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next question. Two-part question. What is your belief about the role of the Library Media Center, the Library Media Center has in a school? How do you plan to support the library media centers and library media specialists in our district? And we'll begin with TJ.
I think that the Library Media Center should be open to all students, which it has. In the past years, the library was kind of restricted on the availability of the kids being able to get into there. Given COVID, this year is different, but prior to, they've really made some good strides of having a library open all the time for the kids to be able to access during study halls, during lunch. It's actually been amazing. They've redone it in there. There's nice sitting areas for the kids and make them more comfortable to really try to invite them and bring them into there. How we plan on supporting them? We really try to, anything that the librarian really asks for, we try our best to get whatever it is. They have computers in there. They have the books everywhere. They have the different sitting areas and collab areas in there. It's just really been a big shift from what it once was to now.
Thank you. John, over to you. Same question.
Yeah, I mean, the library and media center, you know, it plays a large part in the child's development, you know, when they're going through the school day. I mean, just getting in there and being able to, you know, to read something. I mean, it helps their development tremendously. And you know, whether they want to read on the computer or go and look up a book and get a book and read that. I mean, you know, as far as supporting them, obviously I'm not, you know, I don't know about the budget for that yet, but obviously, you know, I'd be looking into, you know, maybe seeing if they require new computers for the children. You know, I know kids, in the past, I don't know how it was this year, but if it was a rainy day and, you know, they didn't go outside for recess, they were able to use the library and media center to go in there and work on their homework and collaborate with other children to make sure, you know, that they were on the same page and working on their studies together. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael, over to you. Same question.
I'm a strong proponent of differentiation across all learning spectrums, and the Media Center affords that. It's an excellent place where students can seek out alternative learning methods. Like I said, the computers are there. They can learn on the computers. They can go sit quietly with a book. They can collaborate with friends on projects or classmates with projects. It's an important feature to all schools. And I think we have to make sure that we have the opportunity, that we're giving the kids the opportunity and the teachers, because the teachers want to use it as a resource too for a teaching resource. So we want to make sure that it's up to date, that it's effective, and that it's being used, most importantly, because we don't want to be throwing money around things that aren't going to be used. We want to get the most bang for our buck, so to say. So we want to make sure that we're using it to the most effective way possible. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. Patty, over to you. Same question.
Sure. The library is like the center point, I think, of every school. Elementary students love going to the library. It's exciting when they have library class and they love going in and selecting their books and taking them home. Middle school students enjoy going there to maybe work on projects or work in small groups or be able to quietly read and gather resources for projects. I think that the library should be open and utilized to the fullest of its capabilities, not only with literature and actually hard copies of books, but via technology as well. And moving forward to support, the librarians, the library media specialists are an intricate part of every school. They really are. And they have, I would fully support them. And as far as, money and buying of equipment and new things, I'm totally on board with that if it fits in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Yukwan, over to you. Same question.
I think the role of the Library Media Center would be mainly to support a child's education in a way that it can supplement whatever they're learning for that day. Maybe they can have an hour, a media session in the library where they could use the computer and research things on the internet. Yeah, that's very important. I mean, us as children, we didn't have that. We had the microfilm slides, and that was a huge part of my life. So this is great. Kids being able to go to the library and use a computer to research and supplement their lesson, it's a great thing.
Great. Thank you. We'll move on to our next question. What is your opinion on universal pre-K and kindergarten? And we'll start with John.
I mean, obviously, if there's a need for it in the school district, it should be offered to all children. I mean, obviously, pre-K and getting early development just helps the child grow into a better student and hopefully builds on what they need for their future. So, I mean, I am all for developing a pre-K program prior to going into kindergarten. Whether that is at one of the, current schools or an offsite program that, we could support, because I'm not sure if that needs to be funded by the school or if we could assist one of the current facilities out there with giving them a curriculum that they could follow for pre-K prior to sending them to kindergarten. But I mean, I am all for it.
Thank you. Michael, over to you. Same question.
I've seen firsthand, I'm living it right now, what pre-K does for development of a child. There's it really works well. It's very positive. It's just something that works really well. As far as paying for something like that, that's going to be a real discussion because it's expensive. There's got to be a way that we work it out that we can make that. If it's mandated by the state or it comes down, we have to do this responsibility. We got to figure out what is the best way to make that happen. If it's working with local providers or if it's working with something in school, that's something we need to sit down and really figure out if that comes down mandated. But I don't think there's any argument against it. The earlier students and our kids get instruction and they learn the ways of the classroom setting, the better they are.
Thank you. Patty, over to you. Same question.
Sure. I also don't really see what the argument against it would be, because it would only benefit the children to set them up to be successful learners for the rest of their life by giving them a solid foundation of pre-K skills would only benefit them down the road. I do know we have excellent pre-K out of pocket for parents in Greenwood Lake right now. So I would love, and I don't know again like the data on it and how much it would cost the district, but I would love if we could utilize what we have currently right now via a school, say like Little Buddies, and incorporate that into it, because they're an important part of our community. So that would be something to think about moving down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Yukwan, over to you. Same question.
I am not for universal pre-K. What I do support is our schools working with private schools, such as Little Buddies, to come up with a plan if this needs to be. But just as a all-out universal pre-K in our school system, no, I do not support that. Again, I support the school working with outside private schools to accomplish this.
Thank you. TJ, over to you. Same question.
I don't think that it's needed. We've worked side by side with our local pre-K program, and they have welcomed us every step of the way. They have worked their curriculum to match with ours, and where the students that went to Little Buddies test and score shows how successful their program is. Since we have such a successful pre-K in our district, I don't believe that the universal pre-K is necessary. Universal pre-K is just a program where the state pays for a certain amount of students, which was only 20 in the last time they offered that they wanted us to start. So they would only finance for 20 students to go. And the issue then comes to keeping that program going. Right now, the money that they were offering was only going to be for 2 years, and then the school would have to figure out where we are going to get our funds to continue to keep that program going, which would ultimately result in tax increases, which we're really trying not to do.
Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to our next question, just for everyone's sort of curiosity. The two remaining questions, including this next question. A two-part question. In your opinion, what needs to change with our school district and why? Please give a clear idea and solution to what you believe needs attention. And we'll begin with Michael.
I think what we really need to do is everything. There's a lot of positives of this district. And what we need to do is look at how we can keep an optimum level of education while keeping our costs down. And that's something that we have to constantly watch. COVID has brought a lot of expenses that were necessarily expected, but now they're reality. Now that we're moving forward, we got to kind of figure out how are we going to optimize the money to keep services and education where they need to be. So this is what I'm looking to focus on. I want to make sure that we can offer all our students the best possible experience, but we do not want to go overboard with spending. And we want to make sure that we're keeping that in line with what needs, with our spending, keeping in line with how per student costs will go. It's not an easy thing to do, but I think that's what we need to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty, over to you. Same question.
Sorry, I just unmute myself there. I feel that the district currently has a wonderful special education program. I feel that at times for our higher learners, we have a good program for our higher learners. I do feel like the one area that is sometimes lacking within our school district, and most actually, is really reaching out to those middle learners, just the average student. I feel a lot of times they go under the radar, and they're just kind of like trucking along and going along about their day. But I really feel like we could get more opportunities for the average learner to make them move up and be more successful and become higher learners. Thank you.
Thank you. Yukwan, over to you. Same question.
Well, what I would like to see change for the future is, being more fiscally conscious, should we say, worrying more about how we spend our money. That is a huge deal. Not to say that the district is spending money uncontrollably, but there are certain areas where I saw that raised some red flags. Nothing illegal, but something that we could have saved money on, but because of whatever factors that were involved, we didn't go that route. And is just a small, minute things that we can work on, that is going to save us money in the long run.
Thank you. TJ, over to you. Same question.
I think we're making huge strides. We have been one of the top scoring districts in our county. We actually ranked number 3, but in all reality, I say we're actually number 1 because our scores were lowered due to the diversity in our district and our opt-out rate, which I don't think is really fair for the district to be judged based off of that. We ranked number 1 in teacher to student ratio, number 1 in testing, and we actually have other districts asking to come here and view our program and see what we're doing to not so much bend the rules of Common Core, but build upon them and be able to educate our kids without it being a robotic answer of teacher says this, student replies with this. It's not possible. It's not how you teach. And we've shown great, our staff and our admin team has done amazing to try to work through that. I think we need to keep pushing forward and working towards doing better because success is never achieved by being content. You have to continuously work on it and do better. And I think that we have done amazing thus far. And I really just want to thank our admin team and our staff for doing that. We wouldn't be successful without them.
Thank you. John, over to you. Same question.
Yeah, I mean, I think both the current schools, the elementary and the middle school, do an excellent job for the special education. But to touch on Patty's point, I mean, when you have a higher learner, they're sort of left to themselves. I mean, yeah, they take the higher extracurricular courses, and but then there's really not much support after that. So obviously we would want to look into providing additional support for them, but we need to keep costs down. So we'd have to look at both schools, the budget, and see where we can save money, but keep the current level of commitment to the students, from the teachers and the administration and, the Board of Education. I mean, we don't want to, cut costs and then see the classroom sizes diminish, but we do need to save money. So thank you.
Thank you. So we'll move on to our final question this evening. It's a 2-part question. So I'll read both parts and you'll have an opportunity to respond. Briefly summarize your reasons for choosing to run for election or re-election in some cases to the school board at this juncture. And if you're not involved, an example of involvement was mentioned as attending school board meetings in the past or prior to serving on the school board, explain why and what has changed today. And we'll begin with Patty.
Well, to summarize why I'm choosing to run for the school board right now, honestly, it's something that I thought about for a long time. It's always kind of been in the back of my mind. It probably was more difficult 5 years ago for me to even entertain this thought, being, a full-time working parent with 3 smaller children. Now that I feel that my children are a little bit older, next year 2 will be in high school, 1 will be in the middle school. At this stage in my own personal career, I feel like I am knowledgeable enough at this current stage in my career and my personal life to take on the responsibility of being on the school board. I think that my knowledge of working in education for almost 20 years is an invaluable trait. As far as school board meetings, in the past, I've attended school board meetings, but if I wasn't unable to attend due to scheduling, I did watch them online because you can always watch them back.
Thank you. That's time. Thank you. Yukwan, over to you. Same question. You're on mute. Okay.
I'm sorry, Chad. Could you repeat the question briefly again?
Absolutely. So briefly summarize your reasons for choosing to run for election or re-election to the school board at this juncture. And if you were not involved in attending school board meetings in the past or prior to serving on the school board, explain why and what has changed today.
So my seeking re-election would be, I think a better answer would be for me to go back and explain why I ran. You know, I always joke, you know, saying that I lost the bet and my friends pushed me to run. You know, that's just a joke. But you know, I always had an interest on some sort of level of service. I am retired, if people didn't know. So, you know, maybe that was why. Maybe it was time to get involved with the children, my kids, and specifically being in school. And when somebody brought up the fact that I should run for the board, I jumped on it. You know, cautiously, I didn't believe in myself at first. You know, I went through the process of getting the signatures and I ran, and here I am. And I'm just continuing what I'm doing. This is not going to stop until
That's
somebody
time.
stops me.
Time. Thank you. TJ, over to you. Same question.
I choose to run to continue the safety of our children being the top priority. Given my line of work, I tend to view things in a different light than others. I want to make sure that our kids are successful. And in order to do that, they need all the tools available. Smart spending is another reason. As I stated before, any decision that you make now, you normally don't see the financial ramifications for it for about 5 years. So we need to realize that just because we can today doesn't mean that we're going to be able to tomorrow. So we need to figure out how we're going to be able to continue offering programming and not start something and then have to cut it short and then the kids end up missing out. Why I didn't attend beforehand. I didn't attend board meetings until my wife and I had gotten together and my stepson started in the district. I did attend before running for the board, but not prior to having my little guy in my life. When he did start in the school, though, I did start attending, and I ended up running to try to make a change.
Thank you. John, over to you. Same question.
Okay, so I mean, I'm currently running. I'd like to try and get the whole community more involved with the school district itself. You know, currently I'm involved, as I stated before, with, you know, a lot of activities, and I see how the children interact with one another, and I'd just like to assist them further, not only outside of school, but in the school system as well. As far as, you know, being present at past board meetings, you know, obviously, I have a full-time job. In the past, I was commuting into the city, you know, every day. Now, obviously, with COVID, that has changed. You know, in the past, I was, you know, running back and forth to soccer practices, softball practices, dance lessons. I now have the time to commit more to the community. And, you know, that's why I'm running for board, and hopefully I'm able to be elected.
Thank you. Michael, over to you. Same question.
Education's always been a passion of mine. And even though my career path has taken me away from education towards human services, it's something that I'm always going to be interested in. Right now, I want to get involved in the community because my son's getting a little older. He's 4. I want to try to show him by example how you need to get involved with your community and be a leader in the community. I started coaching T-ball this year too, so I thought this is an excellent time to jump into this, as I've always thought about it. The reason why I've never had attended board meetings previously here in Greenwood Lake until the whole COVID crisis hit. What I really want to do is I want to be part of leading the school towards reopening and getting back to the way we know normal education needs to be, which is with kids in a classroom with teachers, learning in person and able to interact with each other, because that's the way that they best function. And thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. So we've come to the end of the question and answer session. And just in the interest of time, I want to move right into the final remarks from all of our candidates. So we'll begin with John, followed by TJ, Yukwan, Patty, and Michael. So if all the candidates are ready, we'll move into final comments. This is an opportunity to provide closing remarks, maybe wrap up and cover, right, anything that you may not have had an opportunity to cover during the Q&A. And it's really a final opportunity to really present your case, right, to our audience. So this will be 1 minute. Each candidate will have 1 minute, Rebecca. So we'll put 1 minute on the clock, and we'll begin with John. You're on the air.
Okay, so first, I'd like to thank everybody again for attending the meeting and listening to all the candidates speak. And it was well organized, and I appreciate everything that you guys have done for all of us. Quickly, I did, in the discussion regarding the board meetings, obviously, if I wasn't able to attend in person, I did go on YouTube and watch them and view the board meetings, obviously, because I do have 3 kids that attend the school district. The main reason I'm running for school board is just to be involved more, not only within the community, but within the school district itself, making sure that we get back to normalcy and the kids are able to interact with one another and, develop everything that they were able to in the past that currently they're missing out on right now with not going to school full time. So once again, I'd just like to thank everybody and go out and vote on May 18th. Thank you.
Thank you. TJ, over to you. You're on the air.
I just want to say reopening would have never been possible or went as smoothly if it wasn't for the staff working tirelessly and as hard as they have. So I really just want to say thank you to them. Serving on the board, you're here to represent everybody, big and small. I have done this for the past 4.5 years and look forward to doing so in the future. The children are our country's future, and we need to make sure they can be successful and prosper. I hope everyone is doing well, everybody is staying safe, and thank you again to the PTSA and Chad for setting this up. And let's all continue getting through all this together.
Thank you. Yukwan, over to you. You're on the air.
I just want to say thank you, Chad. Nice meeting you, by the way. Rebecca, thank you. PTSA, thank you. I just want to say, go out and vote, folks. Just looking at this lineup, whoever wins, the town's going to win. I just don't see anything. I just don't see how the town won't win. So all I want to say is make sure you go out and vote. We have good people running. And I'll be proud to have any of these people on the board, with or without me. Thank you.
Thank you. Patty, over to you. You're on the air.
Sure. First, I definitely would like to thank everyone for planning and organizing this evening. It was a great forum, and I think it ran extremely well. To the staff and the administrators, what a wonderful job you guys have all done this year. And we really can't give you enough credit. You're all amazing this year. With that said, I would love the opportunity to serve the students of Greenwood Lake. I feel like it's a great time for me to be doing this. I love my community. I love our small town. And I think that my knowledge of the inside and out of a school system is really something that could benefit all of our students. Thank you all for your time. Best of luck to all the candidates. And everyone, please go out and vote May 18th. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael, over to you. You're on the air.
I just want to thank you, Chad and Rebecca. This went very smoothly, and it's nice to see a public forum not get all crazy as we've seen in the last election. It was a little nuts. So this is nice for a change. I want to thank, first and foremost, the teachers, the administration, the staff, especially the families and students, because they really did a wonderful job getting through this last year and a half. It's been crazy. They rolled with it. I want to thank TJ and Yukwan for the service you've done on the board for these many years. Thank you for that. And I just want a chance to advocate. That's what I do best, is advocate. My job requires that I advocate. It's something I'm very passionate about, and I want to stand up for the community and for the students and make sure that they're getting the best education they can possibly get here in Greenwood Lake. It's been a rough year, and I want to be part of leading it out of the darkness and back into the light where we can get back to normal. And I want everyone to get out and vote. It's the most important thing we can do as Americans. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. So we've come to the end of our program this evening. I want to thank Rebecca and the PTSA for putting this together. I want to thank the participants, our candidates who participated, right, and provided very insightful responses. I want to thank our audience, our Zoom audience, for your cooperation, and for all those who sent in thought-provoking questions. I just want to remind everyone that talking about the vote, that's what we're here, the budget vote and the election, May 18th. That's from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. That is in the elementary school gym. As I mentioned earlier, budget information is on the Greenwood Lake Union Free School District website. And on the Greenwood Lake PTSA Facebook page, you have the bios of everyone that you heard from this evening. So Rebecca, I'll turn it back over to you to wrap up the evening.
Thanks, Chad. Thank you, everyone, for joining us, especially the candidates and everybody behind the scenes who helped put this together. And a special thank you to Chad for being our moderator. This was my first and I think it went pretty well. So good luck to all the candidates. Get out there and vote. The community, if you tuned in, you are now informed. I believe the forum was recorded and it will be posted. Hopefully we can post it on the PTSA page. I believe the school district might post it on their page. So thank you again, everybody, for joining us, and Chad, you again did a great job. Good luck, candidates.
Thank you, everybody. Good luck.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
Take care,
night.
everybody.
Everybody, have a great night.